Hello, friends and family. A reading from Today a Better Way, April 21st, Expectations. Before I became familiar with the principles of Families Anonymous, my expectations often led to frustration and anger. When I placed all my expectations on others, they resented my attempts at manipulation, and my unreasonable expectations discouraged them from making improvements on their own. When my words and actions did not produce the desired results, I expressed my disappointment through alienation and anger. What I've learned through Families Anonymous has changed my attitude about expectations. Nothing is wrong with high hopes, but today I do not allow anything or anyone falling short of the mark to throw me into anger or despair. Instead, I allow others to work on their own shortcomings while I devote myself to working on mine. Today I know that change comes slowly. By keeping my expectations realistic, I minimize my disappointment in myself and others. Today I will set aside expectations and leave the future to my higher power. Timely reading. Here's why. I'm going to share my experience, strength, and hope. It's something that we say in support groups and circles and things like that. I'm going to share my experience, strength, and hope when it comes to this reading as a man that has loved ones and friends that are struggling with addiction to drugs, and it varies. There's some meth addiction among people in my circle. There's some addiction to heroin. There's addiction to opioids. There's addiction to fentanyl. It's just a lot. My experience in this is that I'm getting anxious as of late. And the reason why I'm getting anxious as of late is because I am putting unrealistic expectations on these individuals and on our family's future and our current reality, things like that. And when things aren't met, I get irritable. And they can feel it. I used to be a drunk. I got 22 years of sobriety, but I used to be a drunk. So I know what this is like when somebody is trying to manipulate me. They're trying to maneuver and it's just icky. And here I am, knowing that, hindsight 2020, knowing that, and I do it to my loved one and my friends. It's horrible. I sit there and compare myself, my family, and my loved one or my friends to other people's lives and families and friends and relationships. And it's silly because you and I both know that there is no perfect family on planet Earth. Everybody has their issues. People have their own. Everybody has a past, and so every family has a past. And we might do our best to try to hide some of that stuff, but it doesn't change the reality of, all families are messed up. There's some things. Mental health, I think if we're really honest with one another, we realize that there are more people struggling within families that we would just be surprised. I'll leave it at that. However, I still try to control. I still try to manipulate, and I have these unrealistic expectations in my own life. And it's just silly. It's unproductive. It actually, in some ways, drives and continues to trigger the bad behavior. The family doesn't get better, and all because I want to have peace in my, in my life. So I'm not really wanting them to. It's really weird. It's their sobriety, so I can be at peace, and it's not so they can be at peace. It should always start there. So I got to deal with that, and doing this helps me do that. Calling a friend that is in a similar situation as me and talking with them about that helps too. And so I'm trying to do those things. That's been my experience. Have I arrived? No. All I can do is worry about today. So today and previous days that I've been caught up in this as of late, I need to let that stuff go. My strength comes from weakness. When I acknowledge that I fell down in these areas, it goes farther to acknowledge the weakness, the trying to manipulate, trying to see my loved one or my friend as an object that needs to be managed. The sooner I acknowledge that I still have work to do myself, and judging them, beginning in trying to change them, it's just pointless. I need to work on me. I need to remove the plank from my own eye. It has to start with me, not them. That's what the greatest medicine man of all time was saying when how can you look at the speck of dust in your brother's eye, not see the log protruding from your own? Oh, he was talking about this in this context. No, the way he talked, he wowed the religious elite of that time. Yeshua, when he said things, also known as Jesus, when he said things, he wowed the religious scribes and Pharisees. So that tells me that there is a deeper, truer meaning to what the Logos. If he is Creator God and he is who he says he is, he knows what the truest intent of that is. So when I think about, if I'm trying to judge this person and think about, oh, they got this flaw, and I don't understand that I have, right in that moment, I'm exercising a form of hypocrisy because I have flaws too. Why don't I start with myself? So when I acknowledge that I'm in the wrong, it forces me to be weak. It forces me to humble myself. That is always a good place. And so it sounds counterproductive, but I try to do that at every moment. My strength comes from weakness. Scripture talks about that. My strength is made perfect in weakness. And so that's where my rally point comes from. My hope, because I shared with you my experience, I shared with you my strength, and now I'm sharing with my hope. If Scripture's right, and faith is the substance of things hoped for, that means that I'm hoping that my family will be different. I'm hoping that my relationships will be different. So I'm going to do things different now. And what that's going to look like is, number one, is I'm going to acknowledge that I am in the wrong. And if I have to, I'm going to go apologize to my loved one and make sure that apology is specific. First off, asking for forgiveness and telling exactly what it is, apologizing. Hey, I did this. I treated you this way. I did this thing. I ask for your forgiveness. I'm gonna change what I'm doing. I'm gonna continue to go. I'm gonna call my sponsor within AA. Maybe I need an AA meeting. I still go to them. Maybe I need a Families Anonymous meeting. Maybe I need to call my sponsor within one of those places, within one of those support groups. But I'm doing my due diligence. They know that I've apologized. The apology was specific to something that I've done, and I'm doing something to correct that action moving forward. That will compound over time, and eventually my family will get better. The thing that I'm hoping for is that we deal with the stuff now. That I deal with the stuff now. And hopefully that will drive, that will be something that just kind of reverberates within the family unit. And maybe my loved one or my friend or maybe another family member sees me doing that, and then they change. And next thing you know, the environment around our loved one or our friend changes so much that they can't help but either change because of the change that's going on in that circle, or they need to leave. And that's definitely an option. Our loved ones, our friends, they can choose not to be around us. They can say, you know what, I don't even want to do this, and go on. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today, is the reading from Families Anonymous. Again, Today a Better Way. I need a new book. Today a Better Way, a Families Anonymous publication. You can get it off their website, and I think you can get it off Amazon too, or wherever you get your books from. I just think that we need to now, in this time of the opioid crisis is still going on, the opioid epidemic, and when we start sharing with one another and we drag this thing into the light and we realize that every family has issues, every family has crazy aunties and uncles, if you will, there's power in acknowledgement, and we see that in Scripture. I see that in Scripture as a man that is studying different faith traditions within those individuals that say that they're followers of Christ. So there's strength in weakness, and if we are brave enough and courageous enough, I do think that there will be a ripple effect. There will be shock waves. There will be ripples. There will be vibrations that will be sent off into our family unit. So Hopefully, this finds you well. Pray for somebody that's struggling and hold your loved one in the light.